What's up, everybody? We're back for another episode. The next 12 weeks are sponsored by Alex Jimenez. Alex is a coach, a speaker, and a VA home loan specialist. To learn more about how Alex Jimenez is serving the veteran community as well as our local community, go to ajnashville.com. Me and Mike were, we were on here. I gotta tell everyone, we were on here for like the last half hour, just sharing with energy with each other and passing secrets back and forth. And I said, bro, we got to press record. We're here to share it with everybody.
We just dropped like a podcast into thin air.
Yeah, we did.
Like,
we did.
Into the interwaves. Whoops. But it's okay because there's more coming.
You ever drink any 5-hour energies?
You know, I like B12 and yes, I have. I like the black version, the extreme.
Oh yeah. Gotta get the extra strength, man.
And I like the watermelon.
I always do this one. Oh, berry. I always do berry when I do them. I have been, whenever the goal is to not do 5-hour energies, but if I have to, I don't have to, if I decide to do a pick me up, that's where I like to go. And I really feel, a good pickup from them, and I don't feel a crash.
Yeah. I used to drink a lot of those Bang energy drinks, and that's just a little bit. It's a little bit much.
It's a little bit.
Yeah, there's this other brand, Alani, which makes a cleaner, way less caffeinated version. And by no means am I telling you if you switch to this one, you're going to get the same kick, because it's kind of like the difference between it's the difference between a hardcore energy drink and a soda.
Yeah.
I was gonna make another reference, but anyway,
dude, Redline. So everyone listening, in the past I've done competitive bodybuilding. 2015 was my last competition, so it's been 8 years since I've been in that world. But yes, I had my time where I may have drinking a few red lines.
Oh yeah,
those
red lines were
intense.
Well, can we talk about red lines for a second?
Let's do it.
For those of you who are new to this, red lines came out like 15 years ago, and they said must be 18 years old to buy on the back. And I saw them at a gas station for like $4, like $3.99. I was like, what the heck? I gotta have it. And I remember it said like, warning, only drink half.
Yes.
And like half is potent. And
it's only a couple ounces, like 2-3 ounces, whatever.
It's a small little thing. And you sip on half. By the time you've taken 2 or 3 sips, you are like wired. I mean, dude, I remember dancing in the car like nonstop after drinking half of one.
That's funny you say that, because so the other day, it's like a week ago, I was in a gas station, and I seen a red line, and I thought to myself, I remember thinking, I said, man, they should really have a bigger warning on those things. But the next thought that I had, the immediate next thought was, well, it wouldn't work because all the shitty ones have huge warnings.
Oh, interesting.
But man, Redline really needed some type of warning. Like, don't actually drink that whole bottle. I remember the first time, because I was thinking like, oh, I'll do the whole bottle. And luckily I did not. Right. That's not one to play with.
No. And even when I was like very caffeine tolerant in my heavy duty gym days, when I used to run, 40, 50 miles a week. And I did competitive, not bodybuilding, but like athletics. And there was a Denver Broncos player that I used to work out with, and him and I would just, tit for tat. And I used this unhealthy tit for tat to level my fitness self up at the time. And, hey, Mike, I bet you can't sprint up and down those, fat staircase, 10 times in 2 minutes. And like, okay, it sounds like not that hard, but it was like most people were like into the 3 minutes. And like,
yeah,
I remember I got like 1 minute and 39 seconds, just every stair. And yeah, that was half a red line in me too.
Yeah.
But I mean, even then, like if I drank more than half, I mean, my heart would feel like, oh, I mean, it was nutty. I have like I noticed when you mentioned red line, and you had it too. You said I may have had a few red lines. I think I have a positive anchor to the experiences that I've had while drinking a red line. So thank you, VPX.
Dude, can we let's dive into anchors a little bit.
Let's talk about it.
Dude, I had an experience that I wrote down. It's in my phone. It's in my notes. When you said that, I was like, oh, actually, let me look at this. Oh, cool. I had a text. I had a note in my phone, and when you said it just reminded me. So anchors, everyone listening. So anchors is forget the terminology, call it whatever. You can call it triggers, but we have certain thing like if we remove the word anchor, the terminology anchor, we know that we have certain triggers. Well, what's really cool, we can create our own triggers. We can create success triggers. And a trigger, generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, is not a guaranteed finite visual, auditory, kinesthetic. So what you see, hear, or feel. So you have to see something, you have to hear something, or you have to feel something. You can set up anchors or success triggers that put you into a state of success. Now, some people, those that know are like, oh yeah, of course you can. But some people are like put you into. So I want to share a story. When you said the word anchor, I remembered that this happened the other day. There's this documentary that my wife and I watched a day or two ago, and it was dissecting a T-Rex. And my wife, and they're actually dissecting a T-Rex. The T-Rex is a very, 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 very good model replica. So it has tissue and blood and organs, but it's actual size of a T-Rex. And so they have chainsaws and so if this documentary is on Netflix, I don't remember the name of it, if someone checks it out. It ends up being the producer, they were trying something out, I guess. The point being, there's a lot of science information, but they overly, if you watch it, they just emphasize the gore of the blood. They're crawling in the cavity and they're coming out and there's blood all over them. Why would you do that? You didn't have to have that scene.
In the cavity?
In the cavity of the animal. They're going inside.
Yeah.
The stomach cavity. And they're coming out. You didn't have to show the scene of someone coming out covered in blood. Right. But you chose to, right? So it's all in production. My point of my story is we're watching this, the very first, they take off a foot first, and they're going to dissect the foot and look at the pad of the foot. And they take this chainsaw out, and blood's literally, it's actually squirting out. And it's coming out. And my wife, she's like, ugh. She's like, ugh. And I said, I look over, because obviously, I've been to war 3 times and have had some experience to just see a lot of blood. So for me, of course, there's no big deal. So I'm just experiencing this. And I look at my wife and I was like, babe, that on the screen is not real blood. And she said, oh, I know. She said, but I can't get out of it. That is an anchor. She consciously knows. I told her that is not real blood. It is not real blood. That picture symbolizes something so strong that she could not get out of that state. Oh shit, you can do this with success triggers or success anchors. Someone asked me.
Let's talk about them.
Dive in. Go
ahead. Let's talk about them. Oh, actually, I have one note. Just one note.
Oh, send it.
Can you guys who are listening, can you guys imagine what the dude or the woman or the team of people that actually built that T-Rex and put all that time and forethought and energy into making all the stuff fought? No, just imagine their physiology while they're watching the chainsaw hit it and the stuff that they slaved away making fly all over the place.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining it was part glorious and part
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, I want to talk about the success anchors.
Dude, I have anchors set up throughout my day, and they're essentially, people ask me all the time, how are you always on? Well, not just me, but all the people that are always on. They either have, now if they have something else, y'all got to share the secret with me. They either have a mean poker face and a tab is going to come due. Everyone's free and clear of that. I hope you're not doing that. Or they have anchors. I have anchors set up. So throughout the day, I have certain things that happen during my day that recharge me into a certain state. So for example, I think a good question is, well, what are you talking about, Greg? Or what is one of your anchors? So when I get up in the morning, I go to the gym. I go to Planet Fitness. I've been doing Planet Fitness for a while. And I have the black card. And up until I don't know, a month ago or so, I'd never been in the VIP room, the VIP. And I have the black card because anytime I travel, I can get to a Planet Fitness and free Tootsie Rolls. That is funny that you go in, there's Tootsie Rolls. I'm like, Okay. But so I have the black card. All right. So an anchor for me. So the other day I went in, or whenever it was a little bit back, I started doing guided meditations. So they're 10-minute guided meditations. So now I went in there this morning and I decided I opted to do my cardio first. That's what I wanted. So I got on, I did 30 minutes of cardio. I get done my cardio, like I'm listening to pump up music, like my blood is flowing. I forgot I didn't do I go in now, I go into the black room, I go into the hydro bed, they give you 10 minutes. It's not an option. If you say I want the hydro bed, they put it on for 10 minutes. My guided meditations are 10 minutes. When I listen to what these guided meditations are, I picked them, I purchased them. When I listen to these once a day on this bed and I go through a process of actively imagining what this guy is saying, after 10 minutes, I cannot get up and start my day in anything other than extreme empowerment. Holy shit, would every single one of you like to start every day with extreme empowerment? I said extreme. But this isn't the only anchors that I use throughout the day. I have more anchors that I use throughout the day, but here's what's more, I have anchors throughout the week. Friday, I record a podcast with this guy. Nobody has access to my Fridays. This podcast is an anchor for me. This podcast is my opportunity to come on here. Nothing here is scripted. I have no clue what's going to be said, and we hop on here, and this is an anchor for me to release some of my thoughts out to the world, and it makes me feel good, partially because I get to hang out with Mike.
Suck.
What's up, brother? What do you got? So tell us a little about what is that? How does that resonate with you? What do you have? Do you have questions? Take us a little bit on your side. What do you got? Feedback, questions?
So it's interesting. I want to also tag on that, the unscripted part and the podcast being an anchor, because when I jump on here, can you hold that mug? What the fuck is that? Is really
Have
cool.
you ever been to Dickens of Christmas or Pumpkin in Franklin? They do Pumpkin Fest. There's this company, Wild Bills. So every year for like the last like 6 or 7 or 8 years, we go there and we buy. They will buy this cup with like some sarsaparilla. So this one says 2013 on it.
Wow.
So 10 I said 8 years. Heck, we've been doing it for at least 10. If this one says 13 on it.
13, you've been doing it for at least 10. That's really cool, dude. Yeah, sorry, I had to pause there for a second, but
appreciate
I too love the unscripted nature, where we've come to this point where we get in a flow and it just goes. I have a bunch of anchors that I use. I have a couple recordings that have, one of them now has 300 and some plays on my phone. And it's 13 minutes long, and it's all about changing your belief and your temperature, like a thermostat on the wall. And it's literally, when I listen to it, I'm in the place of like me in the future. Interestingly enough, as we talked about earlier today, Into the Future is going to be in the now, and then there will be a new Into the Future at that time. But this is focused pretty far. I'll probably be about 40 years old by the time I'm into this future, because this is a lofty set of stuff. And it feels really good, and it feels really here. And so there's that. I also have a couple songs that I charge up on a regular basis. And when I'm in a really good state, and I don't even need to listen to the whole song. I just listen to the first 30 seconds and I'm good. And one of those is AC/DC, Shoot to Thrill. And for whatever reason, when I hear that song come on, I get a blood rush. It's not for whatever reason. It's because I've anchored the living shit out of this song. And that song also probably has 500 or 600 plays on my phone. And all I do is, when I'm in a triumphant state, I play a little bit of this song and I'm like, yeah. And then there have been other times where I need that, like that hit of caffeine or whatever, right? But the hit of caffeine, metaphorically speaking, and I'll play it and it'll go, and it just like breathes life into me. The reason I shared that one, I have a few others, but the reason I shared that one specifically is because it's so easy. It's so tangible. It's so simple. I can grab it and do it right now. And it's like, boom, I'm in the mood. And even just thinking about it right now you can see, if you're watching the video, has visually changed my physiology. Like I became aware and alive just thinking about what it might feel like to listen to I'm almost like tempted to just turn it on and put it in the microphone. Really.
Well, let me highlight, for the people, like for those of you not watching, Go ahead and play it back. You can hear his neurology change. And I
Yes.
want to point, dude, while we're at it, so everyone primarily utilizes visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. So they primarily go to what they see, heard, and felt. Something that I just want to highlight for you guys and share with you guys. I love taking notice of this. Like I can't not see it now. If you'll notice, me and Mike are primary auditory. All of our anchors had to do with sound. But yours might be visual, or yours might be a feeling. It might be something you touch, or the way something made you feel. Just the realization that all of those exist. Dude, I have a couple, and another one. So you know the song "Out of My Way"? Out of
By
My Way. Seether, I think.
oh yeah.
That song. So there's a I'm sure you've probably seen it, where they did with 3-6 that Al Fajar, when we did that push in Fallujah, and they did, so there's a version of it. You can look it up when they're going through it, Fallujah. So if I hear that song, it takes me back to like the energy rush of like, we are literally about to go do a full-on assault on an enemy village or town.
Wow.
Like when I hear Seether, like that song, I'm like, clear the way. Like I really don't play that song at all. Like I probably play that song less than 5 times a year. Like that one's really like I can't control myself after that song.
Really? That's interesting.
Oh yeah.
It sounds like, is that like, if you were to walk out to do a talk, would you be in a meditative state and then would you play that song? Have you thought about that? Or is that too much energy?
Well, it depends on this. I can't answer. Well, I can't answer that. I don't know how to answer that yet. Yeah. I have not used that before going on stage before, and there will come a day when I do, and I think everyone will know, because that'll be the day that I go crazy on stage.
Yeah, it's almost, I've heard this from, I haven't talked to like a ton of speakers, quote unquote, like high level speakers, but I have talked to a few, like, world famous, whatever you want to call them, popular speakers. And they've all said this, all 3 of them have said this. There have still been times where I've been nervous to go on stage. And the only person I've ever heard not say this, I haven't met, was Tony Robbins and his "I'm Not Your Guru." He's like, no, I'm not at that point. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to go on stage and breathe life into all these people.
By the way, for everyone, I just, me. Well, I say, me. I'm just because of what it did in my life. I'm just such an avid believer in NLP, and go figure, the guy that does not have any fear getting on stage, that talks the most, uses NLP anchors before he gets on stage. He jumps on a trampoline before he gets on stage.
Oh yeah. And
like,
he does
that's an
breath
anchor.
work.
That is an example of an anchor. And think about that. He's the guy that's like, no, like he can't even, like, look at his neurology when he answers it. Like, there's confusion in his neurology. Fear.
Yeah, he's like, why would you ask me that?
Like, what? That's the thing about all these tools. They work when you use them. Much like every single tool that we all own. I heard someone say I was listening to there's a book, by the way, for anyone that has interest in. I'm going to put it on the screen. So it is called NLP: The Essential Guide. Single best.
Yeah, we have that.
Single best audio book. I'm listening to it right now. I don't know how many times, but like, we're getting close to 10, and I just won't stop listening to it. I won't stop. That audiobook is, in my opinion, I've done a lot of books on NLP. That audiobook, I probably have 10 audiobooks on NLP in here, like 10 easily, or more easily.
Nice.
That audiobook, I give that guy credit. He breaks it down really well. But he says in that book, he said it just the other day, that these tools are no different than any other tool that you own in your garage. It only works when you pick it up and use it. No tool in your garage is going to work without you. Yeah. Right. It literally is. Yeah. You have to use the thing. So Tony Robbins uses the anchor every single time. Tony Robbins could have, 3 years in, he could have said, I'm far too along. They need to jump on a trampoline now. I've handled all that. And then he wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
He's where he's at because he continues to use the tools. He still jumps on the trampoline.
How many people
give up jumping on the trampoline, metaphorically, because I don't need that no more.
Oh, let's talk about this. This is a big, what you just touched on is pattern.
Yep.
This is the juice right here, ladies and gentlemen. Pattern is what, like if you're in a sales job, the typical sales pattern, and I'm talking to you on this because this is like a surface level, and Greg and I both understand this very well, but there's a whole bunch of other ones. But to say a typical sales pattern you might understand, you might do, is you work, you work the leads, you make a bunch of commissions, and then once you get to whatever that, what I would call temperature is, the thermostat kicks on. And even though you've went above that temperature, since you've set your internal temperature over here, your thermostat kicks on and okay, now it's time to go fuck off. And now it's time to play. Now it's time to, do you see what I said there? Play. Hold on real quick. You should be playing the whole time, number one. And then also you should elevate your belief in yourself, number two. But if you have a pattern, right, of, oh, I don't have to jump on the trampoline anymore because I'm fucking, Tony Robbins. Like I sold 5,000 tickets to my last event. There will come a point where you needed to jump on that trampoline and you didn't.
Well, and here's something that I want to share, and a lot of okay, I'm just going to share it because I need to share it. A lot of coaches, I don't think they understand, so there is no malice. A lot of coaches are teaching people away from energy. What you talked about is away from energy. The thermostat cuts off because you utilized away from energy. Most coaches sell away from energy because they know the thermostat will cut off and the client has to come back. Sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm putting it out there. So away from energy is, I need to make $100,000 so I don't lose X. Okay, well, when you make $100,000 and you did not lose X, the thermostat must come off because I was getting away from this thing happening. So Tony Robbins has towards energy. I have to jump on the trampoline every time because I'm going to be the best presenter there ever was in the entire world. He's going to that, and the thermostat can't cut it off because when's he the best that there is in the entire world? Because when he's the very, very, very best, the very next day, like, outbeat that. He's going to something that he can continue to expand.
Well, and that's like constant ascension. And that's the flip side of the thermostat, which is the towards energy, which is instead of cooling it down, it heats it up.
And for everyone listening, let's take a minute to just unfold, because we spoke in a lot. I spoke in a lot of lingo there. So it kind of sounded cool, but towards energy, away from it. What is he talking about? What is energy? What is towards? What is away? You're setting goals because you don't want something to happen, or you're setting goals because you want something to happen.
Yes. And thank you for saying that. That's what I was talking about in the pattern is you set the goals. A lot of people will set goals. Thank you, Greg, because they're scared of not being able to do this. And then when they get somewhere, then they will deserve to do that. But it's because they were trying to get away from this. So they set this pattern, and that's why I said thermostat, which is like, oh, great, I did better. But since they have that away from, it's almost like trying to run against a slingshot. Like, oh, I keep running away, and then well,
it's kind of the example. Well, the example that I share with people, I mean, that's a good metaphor. And what the example I share is like, this is just, it's all just a use of words, but instead of saying they get pulled back, I think people park and wait for what's back here to catch up to them. So the example that I use frequently is, I want to make $10,000. I'm here. I have $0. Here's 10,000. I want to make $10,000. Why would you like to make $10,000? I don't want to be broke no more. I'm broke over here. So they go, so that is energy. Away from energy has a stronger propellant on the front end. This is why coaches sell it, because then people are like, oh my gosh, I took right off. And then, oh, by the way, when the warm shower wears off, you got to come back to me because I was able to make you take off. Away from energy has more propellant on the front end. However, towards energy has more momentum on the back end. All right, let's talk about it for a second. So I'm here, I'm broke. I want to make 10 grand because I don't want to be broke. So the day arrives, we get here, we made 10 grand. You said, I want to make 10 grand because I don't want to be broke. Goals achieved. What do we do now? We sit here and eventually we spend that money until we go broke. And when we're broke, our away from motivation has caught back up to us. Now I got to hustle again. A lot of early entrepreneurs know this cycle. You go out and you get that
Yes.
first big sale and you're good because now you got money. Well, you didn't attach it
Right.
to something bigger. And once you attach it to something bigger, you have to be going towards. So because I
Yeah.
did this, what are we going to achieve? So because I made 10 grand, what are we going to achieve? I heard something I was listening to today. It said it said make money, invest, and then re-up with the rest. And I was like, whoa, that's a powerful formula, like really simplified. So you go out and you do
Re-up
something, you
with the
exchange
rest.
energy and you make money. Take that money and invest every single penny that you can. And then with whatever's the minimum amount that needs to be left, re-up on whatever you traded the energy for more money. And so go trade again for more money and then invest, re-up, trade again.
Yeah, it's interesting the difference between investment expenditure or investment period and then expenditure. And then what you said was amazing about I'm going towards something and my goal is to do this. I think one thing I wanted to touch on a little bit just to hammer this nail in all the way. When we said I want to make $10,000. Why? Because I don't want to be broke anymore. Well, when you get to the $10,000, you've been telling yourself, not, I don't want to be broke anymore. You've been telling yourself, I'm broke, which is what your unconscious is registering. You're not registering the negatives.
And so you
That
attract that broke back,
you're
that self-fulfilling
attracting
prophecy.
yeah, I actually like that better than my slingshot metaphor, which is how I kind of visualized it. But I'm definitely, I like to hear things a lot too. Um, but that makes perfect sense. You camp in it, you park in it. Okay. Yeah. And that's kind of what we were saying about like, yeah, it's time to fuck off now.
Bingo,
Is
bingo,
it?
bingo. And
And then the thing is
oh,
why
good.
do you feel the need to play now? Because you actually wanted to be playing in the first place,
You had to get
but
away from,
you had to get away from in order to
and
play,
you were
which
getting away from
means
your job. You were getting away from, I mean, look, let's just be really real. There's a lot of people out there trying to do things to get away from their family, but not consumer facing, right? How many of us are
sure.
shoving the kids on a tablet and in the room so we can have quiet time? Well, that sounds like we want to get towards.
Dude, yeah, this might offend some people, but like how many people send their kids off to a school that they know is doing a disservice to their kid and send them to a daycare or an after activity so they can have more time away from the kid. And by the time it's the end of the day, I'm sorry, like unless you're superhuman, like most of us don't have the same energy space at
No, no, not at all.
the ass end of the day, after dinner as we do during the entire day.
And I
And you
want to,
can still have the energy. I'm just saying, like, then your kid
it's
gets
not
that
likely.
little limited focus.
Most people are doing this. I think we've shared. So my son goes to public school, and this very year before he starts school again, we will begin homeschooling. And look, I want to speak life to everyone that, there's the single mother, single father out there that's like making ends meet right now. Do your thing.
Yeah,
Do
we're not
your
talking
thing.
about you.
Well, hold on. Let's tell them what we are talking about. Do your thing. I want you to be empowered to do your thing. I want everyone to realize, are you investing time with your kids, with your family? Or I say I want everyone in the highlight of this, are you investing time or are you figuring out ways to keep them moving forward away from you? Consciously, we don't evaluate that, right? When we really go down that road, that's a heavy one. That really, we just open a whole can of worms. I'm actually just gonna put a whole lid back on because it's a whole nother episode, a whole nother day. Let me dive back into, because we just got like, dude. Let's do an episode on it though. Let's do an episode
We'll
on it.
do an episode on that. That sounds
But
great.
let me wrap up where we were a second ago. I
Sure.
want to talk about, so we did the towards, the away from. I said the away from has more energy. The reason the away from has more energy on the front end is because I'm broke right now. I'll do anything to not be broke. Dignity goes out the window. So away from energy always takes off. You can identify, if it was a chart, you can identify away from energy because the person that has away from energy, they show up first. They are the cleanest. They stay there the latest. They work the hardest. They ask if there's another file. People that have towards energy are pacing themselves. It's a marathon, not a race. That guy that shows up 10 minutes before everyone else and they're on point and Johnny on the spot. By the way, ask me how I know about this guy. I was never him. Ask me how I know about this guy. You can identify him like boom and crash. He shows up at the job and like I didn't. If you guys go back a couple episodes, I never told you a story about how 6 months in, never working in the restaurant industry, I went into management, and then maybe I might have been using away from energy. So the away from energy, because no dignity. We have no. I got to get away from this thing. I don't care at whatever cost. I'll do whatever. So away from energy and that whatever it takes mindset. It's motivation, y'all. It is motivation. I'm just sharing some data with you. That takes off quickly. And so it's a boom, it's a and then a crash, a straight line down. A boom and a crash, a straight line down. Now we talked about how towards energy builds more momentum on the back end. So now I'm here and I'm working towards something that's attached to something bigger. Day one, I don't go out and sell my dignity for attention, right? So day one, I go out and I do a little bit and I get done day one and I'm like, oh man, this sucks. I didn't get anywhere. Look, if I'm speaking to you on your journey right now, listen. Day one, you're like, shit, I didn't get nowhere. Day two, you're like, oh my gosh, this is never going to work. And then you start looking at the people doing away from energy and you think that might be a good thing. Now, consciously, you didn't know what this was until you heard what I was saying today, but you were looking at people doing behavior different because Greg's pretty friggin' weird, right? I'm not like everyone else. But on day two, most people start looking at everyone else and they're already having success. So I better mock what they're doing. You know, instead of when we follow the masses, the M's usually silent. Okay. So now 6 months later, Mr. Boom and Crash has been up and down and there's highs and lows and we've met these people. I lived them for a little bit. What's a little bit? Only like 26 years. Just a couple days. Okay. So now 6 months later, now you look back, i.e. I started my academy in 2021. Holy shit. I just realized that today. Now I look back and I'm like, whoa, we're building something here. We got a little fire going. Momentum kicks in. And then you no longer, like, you get to hold on. Like there's a day, if you're willing to go on the journey and figure out your why and attach it to something bigger. I have goals that cannot come to fruition until after my death. When you set your energy towards something huge like that, there comes a day where the ride just takes off and it is enjoyable. I tell my wife every day, I'm like, I love our life. I'm improving, I'm evolving. I love exactly where it is. So friggin' cool. Most of you guys see what I post, check it out, and you're like, there's no way. No, there's a way. It's happening in real life. I wanted to share that towards energy. So that's all I had for today for this episode. And Mike, take us home, deliver whatever you have for final thoughts for everyone. And I'm excited to be back on here next week with everybody.
I would love for you guys to share something that you like to see, hear, feel, taste, touch that makes you feel a certain way, whether it's like a kid that's limitless and free, whether it's like a monster, whether it's like a soldier, whether it's just like a peaceful human. And peace is actually a high vibrational frequency, which is for another day, another conversation. That's a deep topic. But I would love for you guys to share what are some anchors that you've found in your life. Now that you've heard this, you can't unhear this. And you're probably going to say, oh, I had a lot of like, wow. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, Greg. I had a song. Oh my God. When I listened to that Lose Yourself by Eminem, and he says, you got one shot and one opportunity in one moment and don't lose it. Like, oh yeah, my arms, I get the chills and I feel a certain type of way. And holy shit, when I put that on, I'm just fucking unstoppable. And I get on the phone, I start making calls and I'm winning. That's what I'm talking about. What do you guys have for an anchor? And how do you use them? Do you know that you use them, or are they just there and sometimes they accidentally hit you? And if they are, I encourage you to look at that as a resource and share it, guys. Sharing stuff publicly, just like you and I are doing right here, right now, is very powerful. It's a different type of share than when you're sharing inside your head by yourself. And there's greatness in both of those. And sharing publicly some of these anchors can also connect with someone else that's reading, listening, following along on the journey, getting towards something, or maybe even struggling, and they've caught themselves running away from something. And I would encourage you to share those things, share them around, because there's an abundance out there. There's an abundance of good energy, and we can bestow this on people. So thank you very much for listening. I cannot wait to see you again on next week's episode. And that includes you, Mr. GP. And yeah, be well.
I appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week. Be great. It's already in you. The next 12 weeks are sponsored by Alex Jimenez. Alex is a coach, a speaker, and a VA home loan specialist. To learn more about how Alex Jimenez is serving the veteran community as well as our local community, go to ajnashville.com.